In this old photograph, we see a beautiful woman holding a camera. She's surrounded by Arab men and children. At first glance, she looks like just another photojournalist. She's smiling warmly, wearing jeans, and has a camera hanging from her shoulder. Some might think she's a tourist. Others would guess she's an independent journalist from Paris, and they'd almost be right. Her name, according to her Canadian passport, was Patricia Roxbrock. But in the Arab world, people knew her as a kind, polite, and harmless woman with a camera. Except, it was all a lie. Behind that worn smile was a deadly secret. She was actually a Mossad agent. Her real job? To observe, to report, and if needed, to eliminate. If you were lucky, she'd just take your photo. But not everyone was lucky. Today, the world knows her true name, Sylvia Rafael. One of Mossad's best spies, brave, brilliant, and coldly strategic. For years, she moved undetected. She blended into Arab communities using fake identities, risking her life over and over again. Everything went perfectly until one small mistake exposed her. And then everything fell apart. Mossad kept her story a secret for decades. The files were sealed. But now the truth is out, and we finally know how one of Israel's top spies failed her most important mission. Get ready, because this isn't just a real story. It feels like a thrilling spy novel. For decades, Mossad, Israel's national intelligence agency, has fought a silent war. Their mission? Stop terrorist attacks, gather foreign intelligence, eliminate threats, and carry out secret operations no one is supposed to know about. No one knows how much they spend or how many agents they have. Most of their work stays hidden. But one thing is certain: Mossad doesn't rely only on men. Some of their boldest and most dangerous missions were done by women. Beautiful, charming, and seemingly innocent. But deadly. Their weapon wasn't always a gun. Sometimes it was seduction. This is what's known as a honeypot operation, where a female spy gains the enemy's trust, makes him fall in love, and then, when he lets his guard down, she gets the information, drugs him, or even helps take him out. Sometimes all three. Women draw less suspicion. They can go places men can't. They know how to flirt, distract, and disarm. And behind the smile is someone trained to deceive and destroy. Even some Israeli rabbis have said these missions are allowed under Jewish law. A religious study called Forbidden Intimacy for National Security argues that seduction, in some cases, isn't just allowed. It's a mitzvah, a good deed. They even cite examples from the Bible, like Yael, the wife of Heber, who lured enemy commander Sisera into her tent, put him to sleep, and then drove a tent peg through his skull. One modern example is the Mossad agent known as Cindy, real name Cheryl Bentoff. She posed as a tourist, seduced Israeli whistleblower Mordecai von Nunu, and convinced him to fly to Rome with her. There, he was drugged, kidnapped by Mossad, and secretly taken back to Israel. Stories like these are rare. Most female spies vanish like ghosts. Their names are never known. But one name became world famous: Sylvia Rafael, one of Mossad's most successful and most tragic agents. Her mission failed, and that failure turned into an international scandal. That's the only reason we know her name today. Her story has been told in articles, documentaries, and books. The most famous one is Sylvia Rafael, the life and death of a Mossad spy. written by Ram Oren and former Mossad agent Motik Fear. But how did Sylvia, a young woman born in South Africa, end up working for one of the most secretive intelligence agencies in the world? How did a school teacher become a spy, willing to kill and die for a country that wasn't even hers? Why did she give up everything for a life of lies, fake identities, and secret missions? We're about to find out. Sylvia Rafael was born on April 1st, 1937, in a small South African town called Graaff-Reinet. It was a quiet, sunny place, surrounded by hills and fields. Everyone seemed to know each other. From the outside, life looked peaceful, almost perfect. But behind closed doors, Sylvia's family carried deep pain and tragic memories. Her father was Jewish, from what is now Ukraine. As a boy, he had survived a brutal pogrom, one of the many attacks against Jews in Eastern Europe. His entire family was killed. He was the only one who made it out alive. Even though he later built a new life in South Africa, the pain of that loss never left him. Sylvia grew up knowing that her father had lost everything just for being Jewish. Her mother, on the other hand, was a Christian, strict, traditional, and raised with English manners and religious discipline. Her parents were very different. Her father encouraged open thinking and debate. Her mother demanded obedience, modesty, and faith. From a young age, Sylvia followed her father's path. She was curious, outspoken, and always full of questions. She read constantly. She was fascinated by Jewish identity, the Holocaust, Zionism, and the creation of the State of Israel. Although she wasn't Jewish by religious law, she felt deeply connected to the Jewish people. That contradiction, not being officially Jewish, frustrated her, but it also motivated her. She wanted to prove she belonged, not through blood, but through her actions. She did well in school, especially in languages and humanities. After graduating, she became a teacher, young, smart, and attractive. She could have stayed in South Africa, lived a quiet life, started a family. But that wasn't enough for her. She no longer felt like South Africa was home. She felt a pull, a calling from history, and it led her to Israel. In the early 1960s, Sylvia made a decision that would change her life forever. She left her job, her home, and her family, and went to Israel, not as a tourist, but as a volunteer. She truly wanted to help build and protect the country she felt was hers. She moved to a kibbutz called Ramat HaKovesh, where she learned Hebrew, worked in the fields, and became part of the community. Her dedication didn't go unnoticed. She was full of energy, discipline, and determination. People respected her. What surprised everyone most was how quickly she adapted to Israeli life. No one doubted her belief in the cause. She was ready to give everything for it. Eventually, her name reached the ears of people who are always watching, always looking for someone just like her, the Mossad. But that part of the story is only just beginning. Sylvia Rafael came to Israel as an idealist. She worked on a kibbutz in Ramat HaKovesh. She studied Hebrew. She helped in every way she could. But her strength, her determination, and her sharp mind soon caught the attention of the people who recruit spies. And that's where her second life began. Mossad doesn't post job openings. They don't advertise. They observe quietly, and they choose in silence. That's how Sylvia's journey began. She had no idea she was being watched, but someone at the kibbutz, someone with intelligence connections, mentioned her name. They said there was a unique woman not Israeli but with strong Zionist beliefs, language skills, adaptability, and sharp instincts. Exactly the kind of person Mossad was looking for. One day, she was invited to an interview for an important role serving the state. No details. She said yes. And so began a long and intense selection process. The first step was psychological. She was asked unexpected questions. They tested her stress tolerance, honesty, memory, attention to detail, and how she handled surprises. Then came practical challenges. She might be pulled off a bus and told to describe the faces of every passenger, or asked to pretend to be a lost tourist in Tel Aviv while they secretly watched how she interacted with strangers. But the most important skill they looked for, the ability to transform. Sylvia had to change her accent, her body language, even the way she smiled, and she did it perfectly. She amazed them with her memory. She could recall tiny details, like the brand of a man's watch or the lipstick color of a store clerk. She was observant, analytical, and knew how to blend in or disappear. She spoke English, Afrikaans, and Hebrew fluently and was picking up Arabic quickly. She needed more than a camera. She needed charm, presence, and even flirtation. She had to attend meetings, build relationships, even with people who hated Israel. She sat across from Israel's enemies, smiling, pretending to be someone else. But beneath the mask, Sylvia was still human. And one day, she fell in love. He was a fellow undercover agent. His name was Hans, a serious, calculating German with an honest gaze and a quiet strength. What grew between them was rare in the world of espionage, real affection. They saw each other rarely, short walks, brief phone calls, stolen moments, but to Sylvia, it was enough. If she felt any real connection in her double life, it was with him. Mossad didn't approve of personal ties. Love was a weakness, but Sylvia kept it secret. A hidden part of her, proof that beneath the spy, there was still a woman who wanted to be loved. Meanwhile, Palestinian terrorism was rising. One group, in particular, spread fear across Israel. Black September. They had already launched several attacks. But their most horrifying act came at the 1972 Munich Olympics, where they took the Israeli Olympic team hostage. 11 athletes were murdered. The world was stunned. The mastermind behind the attack? Ali Hassan Salameh. He was everything a Mossad enemy could be. Smart, charismatic, charming, fluent in several languages. They called him the Red Prince. He seduced diplomats, negotiated with warlords, and vanished without a trace. He ran Fatah's foreign intelligence and planned Black September's most brutal missions, bombings, kidnappings, assassinations. For Mossad, he became target number one. Sylvia received a new mission: infiltrate Arab communities across Europe. Get close to him. Her background, language skills, and European appearance made her the perfect choice. She followed clues, rumors, whispers in the dark, getting closer and closer. At one point, she was just blocks away from Salameh, close enough to watch, but too far to act. Her missions were becoming more dangerous. One mistake could mean death. Then the final order came. Sylvia was to help eliminate Ali Hassan Salameh. This was the peak of her career, or the beginning of her fall. This was going to be her ultimate mission, the climax of a long, dangerous hunt. The goal: Kill Israel's most wanted terrorist, Ali Hassan Salameh, the Red Prince. But Salameh wasn't easy to find. He had money, global contacts, bodyguards, and the uncanny ability to disappear. Mossad had lost track of him before, but now, a new lead. He was hiding in Norway, in the quiet town of Lillehammer. The operation was launched. A Mossad team, including Sylvia, arrived in advance. They rented apartments, cars, studied routes, observed the area. They watched every move. At one point, she was just blocks away from Salameh, close enough to watch, but too far to act. Her missions were becoming more dangerous. One mistake could mean death. Then the final order came. Sylvia was to help eliminate Ali Hassan Salameh. This was the peak of her career, or the beginning of her fall. This was going to be her ultimate mission, the climax of a long, dangerous hunt. The goal: kill Israel's most wanted terrorist, Ali Hassan Salameh, the Red Prince. But Salameh wasn't easy to find. He had money, global contacts, bodyguards, and the uncanny ability to disappear. Mossad had lost track of him before, but now, a new lead. He was hiding in Norway, in the quiet town of Lillehammer. The operation was launched. A Mossad team, including Sylvia, arrived in advance. They rented apartments, cars, studied routes, observed the area. They watched every. He acted cautious. He followed routines. Everything lined up. Visual confirmation was made. The decision was finalized. The target was marked. The operation was approved. It all happened in seconds. The man walked out of a cinema with his pregnant wife. Shots were fired. He was hit in the back and the head. He died instantly, right in front of his wife. But something was wrong. It wasn't Ali Hassan Salameh. It was Ahmed Bouchiki, a Moroccan waiter, a musician, married to a Norwegian woman. He had no links to terrorism. He simply looked like the wrong man. It was a fatal mistake. The Norwegian police began investigating. Too many foreign faces. Too many rental cars. She looked European, which meant she could easily pass as French, Canadian, or Scandinavian. Perfect for infiltrating Arab or Palestinian networks abroad. After passing every test, she was offered a place in Mossad. But this wasn't just a job, it was a lifetime commitment. She signed a document swearing total secrecy. From that moment on, she belonged to the system. Not even her family would know the truth. That's when the real training began. Her instructor was Abraham Kammer, a tough veteran known for strict discipline. The course was intense. It included psychology, disguises, code encryption, radio operations, surveillance, photography, hand-to-hand combat, and survival training. And Sylvia, she was among the best. After several months, she received her first legend, a complete false identity. From then on, she would be known as Patricia Roxborough, a Canadian photojournalist living in Paris. But the real test still lay ahead, her first mission abroad. And Sylvia was ready. After completing her training, Sylvia Rafael was no longer just a woman with a dream. She was now Patricia Roxborough, a new identity built with precision, meant to be worn like a second skin. According to her cover story, she was a young, passionate freelance photojournalist from Canada, living in Paris and traveling through Europe and the Middle East to cover protests and humanitarian crises. To the outside world, she was just another reporter, dedicated to justice, always with her camera, always chasing a story. But that was just a mask. Behind Patricia was Sylvia, a Mossad agent trained to move silently, think strategically, and act with deadly precision. Her mission: gather intelligence, infiltrate, earn trust, and when necessary, help neutralize threats. She lived between two worlds. On the outside, a confident, free woman with a camera and a story to tell. On the inside, alert, calculated, and always ready to disappear at a moment's notice. She wasn't allowed real relationships, no close friends, no family, no permanent home, only rented apartments, coded phrases, and missions no one would ever know about. In Paris, she was often seen in Arab neighborhoods, watching, photographing, listening. She spent hours speaking with immigrants and activists. Her mission: to gain the trust of Palestinian contacts and collect as much information as possible. Everything she learned was sent straight to Mossad headquarters. Her photos were good. Some were even published in the media, which made her cover as a journalist even more believable. But sometimes that wasn't enough. Tired of deception, longing for peace. Meanwhile, the investigation continued. Israel officially denied any involvement in the Lillehammer affair. But behind the scenes, Mossad did not abandon her. They quietly worked to protect her and reduce the charges. In the end, Sylvia was sentenced to 5.5 years in prison, a relatively light sentence considering the scandal. In reality, she served just a little over 2 years. Good behavior, the conditions of the prison, and diplomatic pressure led to an early release. By then, her relationship with Arne was no longer a secret. After her release, Sylvia stayed in Norway. Soon after, they married. She was nearly 40 years old. She had lived under false names, hidden her feelings, carried weapons and lies. But in that cold country, she found what she had always been searching for: love, peace, and a life built on truth. Meanwhile, the Mossad continued its work. In 1979, Ali Hassan Salameh, the man Sylvia once tried to eliminate. Israel had not forgotten, and in the end they finished what they started. Years later, Sylvia and her husband moved to Israel. The country she had served so fiercely welcomed her again, not as a spy, but as a woman who had walked an extraordinary path. She began a new chapter, no disguises, no secrets. After marrying Arne Treholt, Sylvia Rafael left the world of espionage for good. She was no longer an undercover agent, but in Israel, she was never forgotten. Mossad offered her many roles: to train new recruits, guide female-led missions, consult on false identities, and psychological strategy. The offers came more than once. But Sylvia declined every time. I gave Mossad the best years of my life. Now I belong to myself and to my husband. She became a teacher, did translation work, helped new immigrants. She built a quiet life with Arne. They traveled, spent time with friends, and lived simply, almost invisibly. That was the happiness she had always longed for. But time is unforgiving. Years later, Sylvia was diagnosed with cancer. The disease spread fast. She fought it with the same strength she had shown in training, the same endurance that got her through field missions and prison walls. But this time, the enemy was stronger. Sylvia Rafael died in Israel in 2005. She was buried with honors. Mossad representatives, veterans, and close friends were there. To some, she was a hero. To others, a symbol of loyalty and courage. Mossad never confirms its operations, but Sylvia Rafael's name is forever etched in the history of Israeli intelligence. Books were written, documentaries made. She became a symbol of a woman who served in one of the most dangerous agencies on earth. without ever losing her humanity. Her story isn't just the tale of a spy. It's the story of a woman who gave herself to a cause and still fought to be her own person. Her final mission was the simplest and the hardest, to be happy. And in the end, she succeeded. But what do you think? Can someone who lived a life of lies ever truly find peace? Was Sylvia Rafael a hero, a victim, or something in between? Let us know in the comments. If this story moved you, like, share, and subscribe for more powerful true stories. Thanks for watching. Mossad never confirms its operations, but Sylvia Rafael's name is forever etched in the history of Israeli intelligence. Books were written, documentaries made. She became a symbol of a woman who served in one of the most dangerous agencies on earth, without ever losing her humanity. Her story isn't just the tale of a spy. It's the story of a woman who gave herself to a cause and still fought to be her own person. Her final mission was the simplest and the hardest, to be happy. And in the end, she succeeded. But what do you think? Can someone who lived a life of lies ever truly find peace? Was Sylvia Rafael a hero, a victim, or something in between? Let us know in the comments. If this story moved you, like, share, and subscribe for more powerful true stories. Thanks for watching. Everyone knew who was behind the operation. The media gave her names: the Israeli assassin, the deadly Mossad spy, the terrorist hunter. Sylvia ended up in prison, alone, no backup, no team, no escape plan. For the first time in years, she was truly vulnerable. No weapons, no fake identities, no mission, just her and the cold walls of a foreign prison. She waited. Would she be extradited, tried, locked up for life? No one knew, not even Sylvia. Her mission had failed. But the cost was more than operational failure. The price was her freedom and her identity, now revealed to the entire world. Prison in Norway wasn't like in the movies. There were no bars on the windows, no concrete walls. The cells looked like small studios with furniture and books. Prisoners could walk freely, exercise, even work. But for Sylvia, the solitude was unbearable. She spent long hours reflecting on her life, her missions, her mistakes. But most of all, she thought about what she had always lacked: simple, human happiness, love. That kind of love she used to dream of during lonely hotel nights, under false names, while living undercover in Paris or the Arab world. And just when it seemed all was lost, someone entered her life and changed everything. Arne Treholt, her defense lawyer. Quiet, reserved, intelligent. At first, it was just business. But little by little, something deeper began to grow. Trust, warmth, affection. He didn't see her as a spy or a criminal. He saw a woman